Okay, how's everybody doing so far? Did you get your 10? Did you get as many as you can? I suppose even if you go back and look through a file, you could probably recompile it out of memory. But doing it live as you walk through claims is probably a really good idea. Because the next part that we're going to do is we're actually going to take those handwritten or Excel notes and we're going to start compiling them into your action item worksheet from ClaimWizard. So if you go into ClaimWizard and you take a look at the system that you're in now, and then what you're going to do is, if you have access again, you're going to go to the admin section, and then you're going to navigate to action items, right? So this is my demo system. So in action items, what you're going to have is you're going to have a planning worksheet that you can download. And what that does is whatever workflow that you're currently in. So workflows are basically groups of action items, depending on what type of claim you're working about, why you open the claim. So it's not that you open a new claim and then it winds up going to appraisal, so you have to jump the workflows. That's not necessarily how this works. The reason why you open a claim is the reason the workflow is applied to it. It doesn't jump around. You can build in appraisal, etc., things like that into the workflow, but you don't change your original reason of why you opened it, if that makes sense. So whatever workflow that you're currently looking at, if you download the planning worksheet, it will give you a Excel worksheet that you can then open, and then you can see there's copies of it in your course module down below. I have a blank one in there that you can use. But what this is going to do is it is going to help give you all of the columns that we kind of pay attention to in ClaimWizard. So let's see what we're going to do here. We are going to take a look at things like when something needs to start, what the name of it, what the prerequisites, all that are. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your processes, make another tab or what have you. You're going to take the processes that you wrote for your 10 claims and you're going to copy and paste them into the second column of the workflow worksheet that you're going to get. Those column headers are there's an ID and it's internal for us. You can delete it; it's not that big a deal, or leave it. If you're putting new ones in, it's no big deal. Ignore that column. The second one is your action item name. By best practice, I like to put numbers in front of them just so they sort properly, because even though action items don't run necessarily linear, it can go down a course and then it can split into different trees. It's a little easier for people to understand the numbering sequence behind them, and it will sort that way so they can see it. When you have action items that kind of split off, they're probably not really called, but kind of like little subroutines. Like maybe you have a little billing section in there that if your client is overdue on paying their bill, there's like reminders that come in. So it might be billing 01, billing 02. So those are kind of clumped together, but your standard run of your claim should be numbered. That way, when your staff sees it, if they see there's a number in front of an action item, they know it's part of the default system of running that claim. We can talk about ad hoc action items later on in the course, I suppose. So then you're going to have a critical priority. Is it important or is it critical? If it's neither, it's probably not an action item. I prefer to have action items that have legal deadlines associated with them marked as critical. Whether it's critical from the carrier responding in a certain time frame, that's critical, or you responding to a carrier to whatever in a certain time frame. Things like proof of loss deadlines, very real, right? If you slip on a proof of loss deadline, that claim could be at jeopardy. If you slip on sending your client a welcome letter or a reminder, you have something set for remind them 2 weeks after, the proof of loss got submitted or whatever. If you remind them on a Monday or Tuesday, it's probably not the end of the world, or send them a welcome letter Monday or Tuesday, probably not the end of the world. If you miss a deadline for a proof of loss, probably a big deal. So definitely think about that. And then what phase does it belong into? Claim phases in ClaimWizard are not meant to take the place of action items. I see people that want to do calling for inspection, set inspection date, arrived at inspection, completed inspection, submitted inspection paperwork. Those are very narrow, right? Those all belong in inspection, right? So it's the overarching life cycle, the piece of the life cycle that that claim is in currently. We can do multiple things with this claim phase, including when you're looking at a claim, that you get a really good idea of where in its life cycle all of your claims are. So you're going to see if everything is waiting for estimate, that's a huge bottleneck that you'll have to address, sort of thing. So that is one way of doing it. But then if a claim goes into a specific, if you manually move a claim into, say, appraisal, a whole different set of embedded action items in that workflow can kick off. If you never go to appraisal, you never use those action items, but they sit there dormant waiting just in case something goes awry with a claim, or pre-litigation. Maybe you're chugging along and all of a sudden you kind of know this claim is going to have to go to an attorney. You may step on the brakes and throw that claim manually into pre-litigation, and then all of those tasks spin up with their deadlines, their assignables, their next steps, all of that stuff. So if your staff isn't used to dealing with claims like that and those deadlines and tasks aren't top of mind, it gets done for them automatically. So you want to think about what phase they go in. Next is, when is this created? So this is created after a previous task is done, or an activity log entry is made, or a claim is put into or taken out of a certain phase. So think about, well, why do I have to do this task? What made me want to do this task right now? You're talking about proof of loss. Well, who said I have to do the proof of loss right now? Oh, it's because we got a completed estimate from the adjusters, etc. Oh, that was what, and that's why. So that's when this task gets created, because of the prerequisite that exists too. Next up is overdue actions. So maybe if a task is overdue, it will just turn itself red in the person or group's listing of action items on their workflow benchmark or workbench. So that's enough in its own a lot of times. But if it is something critical, like say a client hasn't paid after the second notice invoice, maybe you're going to email the executive. Maybe a carrier has not responded by a legal deadline for something that you've asked for, or something that needs to be done. You can automatically have the system write a diary entry, an activity log entry for you that says, maybe you pre-word it and said that, the carrier has not complied with this request in the legal timely manner, whatever fancy things you want to do. So just like we talked about before with having those, maybe they have a week to do something and they took 3 weeks, and you're not going to catch that. As soon as the 5 business days is up, on the 6th business day, ClaimWizard, it still needs to be done, but we're going to write a message in the diary saying that they were out of compliance. So if it does it 100 times and you never need it, that's great. But if you need it once, you're going to be glad that it was there 100 times. And then any particular notes that you have about that action item. So a particular note may be, if you're running a proof of loss, make sure that you use the FEMA form if it's a FEMA loss, sort of thing. Or, if it's a commercial, don't use the standard short proof of loss, use the commercial, or whatever we've done. So just like little reminders for your staff to remember. This notes field can also be used later on if someone has a particular note or something they want to say about an action item that was complete or not complete, or whatever the deal was. They can open that particular action item, amend to the notes so that it's part of the record of the action item and part of a record of the actual claim. Our thought is you should document everything with a claim. Yes, you need to do that anyway. Yes, it's part of your job and license as public adjuster. But why not have the system document it for you automatically? All you need to do is literally click a little green button, say, yes, I've done this, and go on with your day. You're going to do more work, be more efficient, save more time, make more money by doing it this way than taking the time to document everything to death. Click it, go on with your day, put notes in if you need to, and get on with your job. Help your clients as much as you can.